And we are back. Okay, so let's talk about the games of April, because there has been a lot of big releases. There is a lot of big releases coming, I guess, as usual. There's going to be an awful lot of stuff to play. If you haven't managed to get through all that backlog that has already accumulated this year, then you're just going to be adding to it in April. But let's run through the interesting contents that are coming out. And we'll start with the PlayStation 5. Why not? So just scrolling through here. On April 1, we have MLB The Show 22. That is Sony's baseball game. And that is, as far as I'm concerned, that's the best of the big sports games. You've got the Madden and the FIFA and the NBA and then the MLB one. I'm a big fan of baseball, so I always look forward to MLB The Show, and it is coming out on April 1. If you're into your Lego games, if you're still playing those, then Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga comes out on April 5, and that will be a Lego game. I'm sure they're all pretty much the same, but that's what people like about them. So I don't expect too much innovation. I just expect a game that people will enjoy. That comes out on, when was it again? April 5. Then we've got, just scrolling through some, because there is an awful lot of not so interesting stuff coming out. Actually, that is it for the PlayStation 5.
Wait, really? What?
In terms of
MLB and a Lego game.
Yeah, in terms of the big releases, there's Chernobyl Enhanced Edition, which is a game from the developers of Get Even. Now, Get Even was a pretty decent psychological first-person shooter thing on the PlayStation 4. So I guess that would be a game worth keeping an eye on, given that there doesn't seem to be too much else coming out on the PlayStation 5 in April. That one comes out on April 21.
That's very surprising.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, we're talking about stuff like Gas Guzzlers Extreme, which does not sound like my kind of game at all, to be honest. But that is a action-paced, fast-paced racing game with insane combat features. So I guess Destruction Derby, like, that comes out on April 26. There's The Serpent Rogue, which is an action-adventure game set in a medieval fantasy world. No doubt it has some roguelike features, hence the title. So I guess that's there. That comes out on April 26 as well. But yeah, it's otherwise seems to be a fairly quiet month for the old PlayStation 5. I guess everybody else will be playing Elden Ring. Over on the
April's the new February anyway.
I mean, the PlayStation 4 does have quite a few interesting games coming out as well. So you'll be able to play those on your PlayStation 5, of course. We've got Orcs Must Die 3, Tipping the Scales. That's DLC for the tower defense action RPG Orcs Must Die 3, which is it was pretty decent. So I'll give the DLC a go in lieu of anything else to do. That comes out on April 7. Also on April 7, you got Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition, which is a game I am looking forward to a great deal. Believe it or not, I have never played Chrono Cross. I've obviously played Chrono Trigger an awful lot, but I've never played Chrono Cross. So I'm actually
going to... the same, yeah. Lots of people haven't played it because it had somewhat of a bad reputation after it came out. Not like immediately after, but for a few years after, people were like, oh, it's not worth it.
Well, I mean, it was always going to have that after coming off the back of Chrono Trigger, of course. You just can't. You can't exactly live up to that title, and that's why Square Enix has never bothered to remake or try and do a sequel of Chrono Trigger. I would imagine there's just no way they can do it. But Chrono Cross, I think, has had a better reputation in the years since, and they're giving it a go anyway. And like I said, I get a chance to play it for the first time, so it's basically a new game for me. That comes out on April 7. Now, here's an interesting one. For some reason on this Metacritic list, there is Winning Post 9 2022, which is listed for a release on April 14. Winning Post is Koei Tecmo's horse racing game, and it has a pretty good reputation in Japan, but they never localize them. But for some reason, this thing has an English Metacritic listing. Now, I actually asked the Koei Tecmo PR what the hell is happening with this thing, and they had no idea. So it might just be a false listing, but the description of the thing is in English on here. So I don't know, it weirds me out that it's on this. It suggests that there is going to be an English port and just nobody's told the local PR about it. But yeah, it's
How niche would it be if it turns out to be a real English release? Like, is it like Nobunaga's Ambition kind of niche, or more or
I
less?
mean, it's horse racing, so yeah, it's very niche, but there are certain markets around the world that do like their horse racing, and I think Australia would be one of those. So I think there would be something of an audience for it down here. It is a very well-regarded simulation series. It's a pretty serious simulation, I think, but it is a well-regarded one. So I would certainly play it if it did actually happen and came out in English, and I'm hoping it does for that reason. I'm not sure if
Australians
this.
will only play it if you can bet in the game.
Well, I imagine you would be able to bet. There are two, I can't remember which is which, but there are two versions of it. They do one which is focused on the horse racing itself, and then they do one which is about the breeding and the management side of horse racing as well. And I'm not sure which one Winning Post is meant to be, but either way, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by the potential here that we might finally get these in English. Moving on, we have Tassomachi Behind the Twilight. Don't know too much about this game, but it has an interesting, intriguing looking box art that comes straight out of Japan. And it has an interesting description here. Yukomo is a young girl traversing the world in her beloved airship. Airships is always a good sign for Japanese games. Upon arriving at a particular far eastern town to run some errands, her airship suddenly breaks down. She decides to explore the town to search for parts. However, the town has fallen silent with no trace of the people that live here. The only inhabitants left are a strange cat-like species. So, yeah, it's intriguing. It's an RPG. You'll be delving into dungeons and collecting items to fix your broken airship. And it looks like it has some nice art to it. So keep an eye on that one. That comes out on April 28. And that's it for the PlayStation 4. It is a very quiet one for PlayStation compared to everything else that has happened this year.
So PS5 has been out for more than a year now anyway, right?
1.5 years or something.
Yeah,
2 years almost, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're
it's
not getting
really...
the analytical articles going like, is the PS5 a failure, But it feels like it would warrant that at this point.
Well, it's not a failure because it does sell out as soon as it becomes available. The problem is that people cannot get the thing. Like, if you still want a PlayStation and you haven't got one yet, you still need to put your name down for pre-orders and hope you win the lottery when they do have new stock coming in. They just cannot get these things into people's hands. And for that reason...
But it's making it that they can't make games just for the PS5 because they can't
exactly.
people having one.
So as a result of it, it does mean that the PlayStation 4 has a particularly long tail, and the transition from one generation to the next has been very slow. So you're right. You're totally right that is all happening. It's just, it's not for the console being a failure. It's for the fact that they just cannot fulfill demand. And that is because they can't get the pieces that they need to make the console and all of those kinds of
Be
things.
interesting to see how that affects the console generation lifetime. Like, if it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, we can't source these parts anymore. Do we just skip to the next generation? Like, it's going to be interesting the next year or two. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, that's another topic for another podcast. But yes, it is changing how things are happening. So who knows? Who knows? But moving on to the Switch, because the Switch does have some different games coming out, and it's for a start, it does actually have MLB The Show coming for the first time. So even though that is a Sony property, it had to go multi-platform, one imagines, because the MLB was like, you can't keep making this an exclusive to Sony to keep the license. So you're going to release it on everything. And Sony said, yeah, okay, we're going to do that. And as a result, we have a Sony game coming on the Switch. That happens
like a
on
real Sony published game on the Switch.
Yeah. Well, Sony developed. It's an internal Sony team. It's not even a. Yeah. Sony actually. Sony, the developer and company, has the MLB property, but like I said, I'm pretty sure the licensor in this case, the MLB, would have said, we need this to go multi-platform because it's not doing us any good for it to be an exclusive for you. So if you want to keep the license, you're going to release it multi-platform, and Sony agreed, worth too much money not to. So yeah, I'll be playing it on the Switch because baseball on the go is the thing. We also have Lego Skywars. Lego Star Wars comes out on the Switch on April 5. Yep, which is good. We have Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter coming out on Switch on April 7. Now, this is on other platforms, I think, already, but the developer Frogwares is putting it on Switch a bit later. I would recommend you go and buy it, even if you're only got a vague intention of playing it at some point, because Frogwares happens to be a Ukrainian developer and they need the money. The whole country needs the support. So there you go. You can do a good thing and get yourself a new game to play in Sherlock Holmes. We have Makoto X coming out on Switch on April 7. Don't know what that is, but capture areas and save the girls from various troublemakers certainly sounds like an interesting game. A popular game style in the late 80s, Makoto X hopes to resurrect the soul of the arcade genre while adding a modern twist. Sounds like a brawler to me, and that'll be fine. On April 7, we have the House of Dead remake coming out, which would almost be interesting because as a fan of the House of the Dead in the arcades and stuff, I do like the zombie shooty games. Unfortunately, I do have to temper my expectations with this one because the developer publisher of it is Forever Entertainment, and they are, for whatever reason, a pretty trashy shovelware developer publisher that seems to be picking up all kinds of big properties. They had the Panzer Dragoon remake from 2 years ago or thereabouts. That was them, and they didn't do a very good job with that. So I'm a little bit concerned about where the House of the Dead may go, but I'm tentatively interested in it anyway because it has been a while since we had one of those. We also
I
have...
hope they do like the light gun thing on the Switch. That'd be fun.
Yeah, if they can actually manage to do it right. It amazes me that Forever Entertainment gets all these big properties and stuff. They've got some other big stuff that they're doing with Square Enix as well. I can't remember which, but...
Oh, they were doing some remake. I do remember that now.
Yeah, so whenever I see them, I go, oh, I was looking forward to this, but now I'm not quite so much anymore. It really disappoints me that they managed to get all these big properties, but who knows? Perhaps at some stage they'll break through and do something interesting. It wouldn't be the first developer publisher that started off in a pretty crappy spot and ended up doing some pretty good things. Chrono Cross does come out on Switch as well, and I'll be playing it on Switch, of course, because that seems to be the place to go for that. Then we have Chinatown Detective Agency coming out on April 7. This is an indie detective thing, but I'm quite keen on it. It's set in Singapore. It seems to be, I think it is an actual Singaporean developer that's created it. It was inspired by the classic Carmen Sandiego games of the 80s and 90s. So you're talking about a kind of detective, fiction, investigation, adventure game. And you'll be solving puzzles and uncovering leads, doing research and investigation. So it seems like it's something that I will enjoy a great deal, and that comes out on April 7. We have 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim coming out on April 12. If you happen to miss this on the PlayStation, and a lot of people did, for whatever reason, do not miss it on the Switch. So 13 Sentinels is just an incredible game. It tells an amazing story. It is a mix of, I want to say, a kind of tower defense style gameplay, but very different, and an incredibly complex, woven narrative featuring some amazing characters. And it's a gorgeous game to look at as well. Just don't miss it, please.
So as someone who did miss it on the PS4, I've seen a lot of footage.
Naughty
of this game,
Harvard.
I still have no idea how it plays. Visually, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I think
it looks so confusing.
Most people who play it don't really know how it works either. It's the gameplay stuff of it is quite secondary. Let's put it this way: that stuff is there, and in all seriousness, once you actually get into it, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But this is a narrative-driven game, and everything is in support of the narrative. So that's
it looks like a number crunching strategy kind of game, but it's not that.
No, it is more. It's kind of a tower defense thing, really. Yeah, I won't even try and explain it on this podcast because it's just it's too difficult to do so. But
it looks so convoluted.
All I can say is that it does make sense once you actually sit down and play it. Once you get into it, once you run through the tutorials and all of that stuff, it all makes sense. But it is just secondary to the narrative that the thing is saying and telling, and it's got an amazing narrative. It's one of the best game stories that I've ever played. And I obviously play a lot of narrative-driven games, so for me to have that kind of regard for 13 Sentinels should tell you the kind of story that it is actually sharing. So don't miss it. Absolutely do not miss it. Speaking of games that you can pick up on Switch if you miss them on other platforms, Tormented Souls comes out on April 14. This game is going to end up with a pretty vocal cult following, I would say. It is a traditional style survival horror that goes right back to the roots of the genre. It's kind of Resident Evil 2 inspired, and it is good. It is very good at doing what it does. So if you're into your classic survival horror, then Tormented Souls is coming to Switch. Rolling on, we have Neptunia Cross Senran Kagura Ninja Wars comes out on Switch on April 19. That is the crossover game between those two very fan-servicey properties. The game itself is obviously very fan-servicey, but it is good fun. It is good fun. And I don't really have too much else to say about that. I'm glad Alan's not on the podcast, or his ears would be burning right about now. But it is good fun. I will say that again. Rolling on. And I don't know if there's too much else. Tassomachi is coming out on Switch as well on April 28. And then, as Trent mentioned right at the start of the podcast, Nintendo Switch Sports comes out on April 29. So I guess that's Nintendo's big release for the month. And that'll be good.
Were you about to just be like moving on and just go like to another platform like the Xbox or something and just like
We've never done the Xbox, Trent.
Yeah,
We've never done the Xbox.
I mean,
sometimes there's games. We need to say sometimes that there's games on the platform.
You've been here for like 3 years, Trent. Since when we do Xbox?
Well, I'm Xbox first, and sometimes I'm like, well, if Matt's like, oh, well, Xbox has no games. I don't know. It has Forza this month. Everyone buy Forza.
Yeah, but they're all on Game
Forza this month.
They're all on Game Pass now, so you don't need me to mention that they're there because you can play them for free. Because
everyone's playing Tunic right now.
Yeah, whatever. Back to Nintendo Switch Sports. That comes out on April 29, and that'll be good fun. I'm sure it'll use the motion controllers, I'm sure. And what do we got? What do we got in it this time? We have soccer, volleyball, bowling, tennis, badminton, and swordplay. Chumbra.
So basically 3 different versions of tennis, bowling, and soccer.
Yeah, what? How did they do that?
There we go.
Do you tie the Joy-Cons to your feet? What do you do?
Well, you do. It says use a Joy-Con with the leg strap as accessory to kick the ball. So you actually do.
Wow, that's weird.
That's going to destroy some living rooms. That's
so weird.
That's cool. Oh, there is golf as well.
Yeah, I love. They have to have golf. Golf is just a must have included in that.
I'm intrigued by volleyball. I do like volleyball. Is it beach volleyball? Is it indoor volleyball?
Volleyball seems like it would work well with the Switch controls because you've got a stick to move around, and then you can put it together to like do the sets and the spikes and stuff like that.
Well, the thing is, volleyball isn't really even that much about moving around. If they want to automate the movement like they do with tennis, or they did with tennis with the original Wii Sports, then that's fine for the mechanics of volleyball too. It's mostly about the 3 actions, the set, spike, and block. And yeah, that would work fine with the Switch controller, I would think, in motion controls. That'd be fun. I'll play that. That'll be my thing. And if it sucks, then I'll just go back to bowling, because let's face it, that's the thing everybody mastered with Wii Sports.
Bowling was pretty fun.
There's only
for
7
the demo.
sports.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, Trent, go.
I was saying bowling was pretty fun in the demo because it was like the online, so it was like that done in sections. So you would like slowly. It was basically battle royale, but you're playing bowling. I mean, it's probably how bowling
Bowling
plays in real
Royale.
life.
Bowling Royale. There you go. No, it does here. It does say here there is a pro league as well, which is pretty cool. I do like that idea as well. That it's now online connected and you can play online and all that stuff. So I imagine
7 sports. 7 sports.
yeah, just the 7 sports. I think soccer,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, just the 7 sports.
Hmm.
But it's not so much
Wonder
about.
if we get resorts.
It's not about quantity. It's about quality, right?
No, it's absolutely about quantity. It's we had Wii Sports Resort, Matt.
Yeah, and nobody played
Yeah,
that.
where's
one
our
for a
wave
reason.
racing?
Exactly. Where's our wave racing, Matt? I don't know why I'm asking you this as if you made the game.
Nobody liked that stuff.
Maybe Matt's working on Wave Racer. Wait, why am I saying Matt's working on this game? He's not a developer. I mean, well, he is a developer, but he's
So
not
I would
like.
say when they
DD
drop Wave Racer on
does
the
wave
N64,
racing.
I am in. They got to drop Wave Racer on the 64 Switch online.
Did they?
Oh, it's on the Switch now.
They haven't. I'm waiting for them to.
Oh.
I'm waiting.
Ah.
I don't think they can because it's like there's licensing issues. I'm pretty sure Kawasaki isn't Kawasaki.
Oh, is it actually?
licensed?
Oh man.
I think it
It's a
might be.
shame.
I think it might be the case that it is licensed. There might be Kawasaki. Oh, don't quote me on this because I may be wrong, but I think I read vaguely somewhere that there are Kawasaki jet skis in there, and as a result, they don't have the license, so they can't touch it again. Which would not surprise me. Once again, this is why piracy is good, people. You can still play that game. You just can't do it through legitimate ways because licensing has killed the future potential of
It's
that.
like the memes going around at the moment for like movie and TV streaming. It's like, you know, Netflix coming out, everyone stopped pirating, but then now all these streaming services are like, let's put ads in and still charge people every the piracy like comes back. So it's like the Simpsons meme where Barney gets thrown out of the bar and then
it's entrepreneur culture where like you start by offering a good product and then you progressively make it worse to make money. So get ready for Game Pass to be terrible in 2 years' time.
Well, I've been only saying that for 5 or 6 years now. It's about time people started to listen to me about these things because I do know my shit. And I was always saying,
you know, they can put
subscription
some
service
ads
is
in the
terrible.
Game Pass. Like you're playing a game and then you have to put your hands up and scream yes from McDonald's, like the PlayStation, thing they've got.
I mean, the ads are already in our games, so I'm not sure how much further they can go.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the lists. Not that there was all that much. I guess April is probably the quietest month of the year to date, but there is some stuff.
We all agree we're going to
Excuse me,
play
some stuff there.
Wii Sports.
That's you, Trent. What about you, Harvard?
No, that's a given. Wii Sports is probably going to be chill enough that everyone's going to give that a try. I'm going to preempt what you're going to say, and I'm going to say Tormented Souls, because it's been a while since I played one of those old school Resident Evil style games, and no one's really making them. So if you say this one is doing what Resi 1 and 2 did effectively, then I'm in.
Yeah, it is. It's very much in that mold. I'm surprised you didn't play the original release of it.
I've never heard of it. It sounds completely generic.
Oh,
if someone
okay.
was like, hey, go play Tormented Souls, I'd be like, no.
Oh, okay. Well, I did review it on the PlayStation last year when it came out. It was around the Halloween time, so I think it came out the wrong time.
Yeah, I might have missed it.
There was a bunch of other horror games coming out at that time because the season and all that. But yeah, don't give this one a miss. I think it's quite good. It's well made. It doesn't do anything that really sets it apart from those early era games from the genre. It is very much inspired by rather than build on, but it will give you what you're looking for if you're a fan of that. So yeah, it's a bit gritty compared to those, I think. I mean, it doesn't have the sense of humor of Resident Evil 1 in particular, but and it has a little bit more of a grimy kind of approach, I guess, if I was to characterize it compared to the relatively elevated style of and aesthetics of Resident Evil. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, and I enjoyed the way it was designed around those same kind of labyrinth style levels and the puzzles and the need to find keys and all that stuff. It's all there. So yeah, it's good. For me, I'm intrigued. I am very intrigued by this Sumachi. I hadn't heard about it before I started reading off the list, to be honest, this week, but now I'm keen. It's being published by Playism, which means it's probably a very indie game. And I'm just going to quickly Google up what it might look like. And I'm surprised it's 3D and everything. When I saw Playism, I figured it was going to be some kind of 2D kind of game, but no, it looks like it's a full 3D RPG. The art style is lovely, and I am very intrigued. So that's the one I'm picking for this month. All right.
No one said Chrono Cross. No one said Chrono Cross. Okay.
Well, I mean, Chrono Cross is a given, but it is such a look for me. Like I said, I haven't played Chrono Cross before, and I am certainly keen to play it. But at the same time, I'm very keenly aware of the fact that it has that reputation of being not Chrono Trigger. So I'm tempering my
Was that the
expectations
DS
for it a
one?
bit.
No, Trigger was the DS ones.
Trigger went on DS, yeah. Chrono
Trigger's-
Cross has never been released on anything because Square Enix was like, people hated it.
Yeah, Trigger's been on everything. You can get it on GBA, you can get it on modern systems.
You
It's
get it
on pretty much
phones now.
Yeah, you can get it on phones. It's on pretty much everything. So it's the game that Square Enix has been particularly good at preserving, but we've never seen Chrono Cross on anything since the PlayStation release. But again, I'm certainly looking forward to playing it. I'm just tempering my expectations against what it may well be. I don't know. We'll go to some music and then we'll come back with
Wii Sports music. Wii Sports music.
Oh yeah, why not? Wii Sports
Has to be Wii
music.
Sports.
Alan's gonna put actual Wii Sports music in the thing, not Nintendo Switch Sports music.
Please do,
because we keep
absolutely.
calling-
In my head,
we
this is
keep
Wii
calling it
Sports. I'm calling the Nintendo Switch version Wii Sports. You can't stop me.
Wii Sports free. Yeah.
Wii Sports
great.
3.